Also, are you allowed to disclose that information about
What
the interview?
information? Oh, crap.
What do you think is the most important aspect in your application that got you into the school? It's probably the personal statement.
Hi, my name is James.
Hi, I'm Ariel.
Hi, my name's Hannah.
My extracurriculars, well, I'm the leader of PPE Club, and I participated in IASIS events like music and debate and forensics, where I did extemp.
In terms of extracurriculars, at my time at ISKL, I focused more on dance, so I did things like ISIS dance and all the dance extracurriculars. I'm also the exec of Care and Lux Anima, yeah. But I spent a lot of time in 9th and 10th grade in my old school doing a lot of leadership, so that helps me in my personal statement. And specifically for law, you have to take an admissions test called the LNET. For that, I scored a 27. It's a pretty difficult admissions test. Most of the UK admissions tests for specific majors tend to be quite difficult.
I was the IASIS dance captain in 11th grade. I'm a member of Care and Lux Anima. I did a few other clubs in 11th grade, like Tether and within Malaysia.
Because the UK is quite special in that they require a lot of engagement in this field that you will be applying for, I'll be brutally honest, they don't care about you. You shouldn't talk about extracurriculars that you're part of that are not related or talk about qualities of yourself. You really shouldn't. Spend a lot of time engaging in what they call supercurriculars, so things outside of your academic career that is related to your field. Internships, read books, like listen to podcasts, talk to people in that field. Just try to engage in other things that will help enrich your understanding and your knowledge, because that will also help you really know whether you want to study that subject.
You really want to show that you're knowledgeable in what major you're going into. Anything you can kind of put into your personal statement that relates back to your major is going to be quite helpful in like making your personal statement stand out from others competing in the same field.
The big thing about the UK application is that everyone's going to have the same grades, which means that you need to have those grades, right? Because otherwise that's an easy thing to reject you for, so.
What do you think is the most important aspect in your application that got you into the school? It's probably the personal statement, because everyone who applies to the schools have the same grades as you. Everyone's just as competitive, so the things that have to do with numbers, you're not that competitive. It's probably your writing that's the most important.
I talked about books that I read, and it's not enough to just say, oh, this is what it was about, because anybody can look at a book summary, right? You have to apply it, talk about your own personal relevance to the content, what your takeaways were, how you can see these things in the real world.
I kind of drew from an experience that was not really related to the course at all and talked about what I learned from that and then applied it. That's what they really like. They like when you are able to apply things that may not necessarily be related to your course, but you can apply those skills and think about that course or that subject in a more broad perspective. So I talked about my experience as a head prefect and how language in the rulebook and language of how we govern student body is really specific and can change their psychological perspective on things. Then I talked about how in law, the language that you use really matters, and the way that you argument and negotiate is very language specific, so it's very nuanced. Because you're betting so much on one piece of writing, it's a lot of pressure to make that personal statement perfect. So I also wish that I knew that a lot of luck is involved. They could find so many personal statements interesting, so many things about your application, competitive, but they have to choose someone in the end. And there's so many applicants, especially to the schools that we apply to. So make sure you go into the application process knowing that wherever you end up is where you are supposed to be. Your experience depends on what you make of it.
At my team from the beginning, that like when you like read all these things about the application process for like, I don't know, Cambridge or Oxford or whatever, and you're like, it's almost like this mythical thing, right? But then when you actually do it, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Okay, you have your admissions test, right? You walk in and it's just like any other exam. For the interview, is just a face-to-face thing. Really, like, if your cognition is making you think that it's a bigger deal than it is, it will be a bigger deal than it is. But if you take it more chill, I don't want to say it's not hard, because objectively it is hard, but it doesn't have to be such a big stressor.
Neither of us were successful in our interviews. I got rejected from Cambridge, you got rejected from Oxford. But there are some key takeaways. Like, in terms of interviews, because again, the UK is very subject specific, the interview is quite difficult because they will ask you things that you've never heard of, and they will ask you to, on the spot, apply to situations that you're not familiar with. So I'd say one of the biggest tips is to engage with someone who has gone through that interview. Like, I talked to a third-year Cambridge student studying law, and that really helped me because I knew what the interview was going to be like. I practiced the sort of style. It's like practicing for an exam, honestly.
For the interview, at least, I don't have friends or family or anything like Ariel had. I just went into it pretty much blind. The biggest thing that helped me for my interviews is just being knowledgeable about your subject. And it's like, yeah, duh. But also, like, you have to be comfortable talking about it. You don't want to come across as like having brushed up on the topics 5 minutes before your interview. You need to show that you do care about what you're applying and that you do have a genuine interest in it.
I found it really funny that when LSE rejects you, they give you a mail saying why they rejected you.
Yeah.
What did they say?
It's all the same. The main endpoint of the email was just like, oh, you can't like appeal this. It's final. That's it.